This hour, prices of crude oil will end this year at about $100 per barrel. That's according to a new World Bank report on global commodity outlook, of which we have more in this report.
World Bank in their report noted that prices averaging at around $100 a barrel will still be the highest since 2013. If the report is anything to go by, then we can say that prices at the global level could reduce marginally or go up again in the coming months, or let's say remain stable at the current levels. This is because crude oil is currently trading at $104 a barrel. This may rule out expectations by consumers that prices could be declining on the global market, let's say if the war in Ukraine should end today. It could also mean that consumers should brace themselves for continuous hikes in prices of petroleum products at the pumps locally. Joy Business is even learning that fuel prices could be going up again at the pumps from the next pricing window, which starts from May 1 this year. The World Bank in their report is also warning that the current hikes in prices of food and energy-related commodities are not likely to end this year, but in 2024. The development could mean that consumers should brace themselves for more hikes in food and petroleum prices at the pumps. The World Bank is even worried about how the development could badly affect a lot of economies around the world, especially the fragile and the low middle-income countries that are already going through some challenges.
Well, joining us to discuss is petroleum specialist Dr. Yusuf Suleiman. Thankfully, he has been able to step aside from his normal duty to address this issue. We're grateful that he could join us. What do you make of this outlook projecting $100 per barrel of crude oil prices?
Other nations also face a constant threat of a stop in...
Can you hear me, please?
You're loud and clear. And of course, even as you're trying to, rematch the connection, I want to find out from you what you make of the World Bank's projection of $100 per barrel of crude oil price by the end of this year.
Yeah, so that is expected, Charles, and that is a certainty. It's been long coming. Just that we fail to see that. Pandit would have seen that. I mean, even minus the Russian crisis, if you observe what had happened, to the market, there have been what we call capital discipline. And so, for the fact that oil prices were gravitating towards this three-digit figure of 100 and above, wasn't surprising. What really happened is that three factors were accountable for, this bullish trajectory. One was the OPEC cuts. The other one was this opening of the economies, and then the vibrancy also in the Chinese economies. These were the things that were driving, demand. So one would have been expecting that supply should have been ramped up to match up with the demand, but that never happened because OPEC were still lackadaisic and they were not willing to release any barrels into the market. So this price hike that we are seeing actually is more. It has more to do with supply cuts, that is demand deficit. A supply cut, then, a demand increase. When demand increases, we could get price hikes. When supply is also short, we could get price hike. But this price hike we are seeing is more. It has more to do with supply deficit, as against, increase in demand, So, and that is not good. So if you look at, the aggregate of factors that is keeping the price as it is, one can only say that as a pundit, that the World Bank projection is something to go by. Because the bullish momentum or the sentiment that we talked about that I just enumerated, they look far more potent than potential bearish sentiment. The bearish sentiment are those that could dip the oil prices. So what are they? Quickly, if Iran nuclear deal could come to play, if OPEC could agree to release barrels into the market, these are the bearish sentiment that could potentially dip the oil market. But if you look at this particular sentiment, they are not anything to match with this bullish momentum. So one could only say that, this World Bank projection is something that is inevitable and it's something that could come to pass. For Russian crisis, it's only coming to increase and just to exacerbate the situation. Okay, so yes, the main thing is the capital discipline. We have to increase investment into the world of hydrocarbon. As long as there is this continuous capital discipline, in the world of hydrocarbon, where investment is not going into investing into drilling more oil, churning out more barrels to the market, and we continue to have this supply deficit. I think the 3-degree projection is something that is coming to stay.
Indeed, and as you rightly stated, I mean, this is a World Bank projection, which is, likely to happen. But in your submission, you've made mention of ifs, of course, which, proves the point that all these are based on, uncertainties. Let's now trickle down from the geopolitical side that you have rightly, explained to us, to the local development, things happening home. How is this really going to impact prices at the pumps?
Yeah, so that's a good one. As much as this, this happenings or dynamics or incidents that are happening within the international front, as remote as they have cascading impact on our local pumps. 3 things, as I always mention, will impact what the consumer pays at the pump. One will be the exchange rate. Okay, the other one will be the prevailing crude oil prices that we have in the international market. And then the other one will also be the taxes. Of course, taxes are something that we are not able to do anything substantial about. Exchange rate is not the best form, but the other one, which is the wild variable we are talking about here, where this geopolitical, sentiments run in, is the crude oil prices. Right, the crude oil prices directly feeds on what the consumer pays at the pump, because whatever the finished products that the consumer buys at the pump, the petrol, the diesel, the LPG, they are all derivatives to raw material. I mean, they are all derived from crude oil. So as long as crude oil prices are going up, I think consumer is going to pay much at the pump. However, I think there are certain things that we can do locally, at least, to be able to, cushion us so that we are not impacted drastically when this international dynamic falls. One of them, of course, we should make concerted effort to source some of these products locally, as in having a local-based refinery. That will help a lot, And then also another thing is to also rebuild our storage capability like BOST. These are local mechanisms that we can put in place. It's not that good with deep oil prices. They'll never be able to drop oil prices in the international market, but they could shield you as a nation. Every nation has to look inward to look at its own strategic advantages that can shield that particular nation when this particular things unfold. And yes, Charles, we're going to live in rough times. The volatility is going to continue because the uncertainties are rising, and then the Ukraine crisis is only adding to the uncertainties. And so we need to look inward and develop our local strategies to be able to withstand these international dynamics, especially when they unfold.
And even as we establish buffers to, cushion ourselves against what's happening around us, definitely it's going to have an impact on inflation. The World Bank is predicting that inflation is going to skyrocket till the end of 2024. That's about 3 years from now. What trickle-down effects can this have, not just on the upstream sector, but on the downstream sector as well?
Yes. So that's a fact. What is inflation? If cost of goods and services skyrockets, it directly feeds into inflation figures. And so, yes, when crude oil prices go up, what will happen is that the consumer will likely pay much at the pump. And that's what is happening. So inflation is already being impacted because cost of energy is becoming very expensive. And energy lubricates the economy. Energy lubricates every movement of the economy. Talk of transportation, movement. Talk of a kinky seller taking taking kinky to market to sell. Everything that moves is moving by energy. And as long as crude oil prices continue to have this upward trajectory, we're going to have we're going to have high energy prices. So once we have energy prices, what will happen is that automatically consumers are going to pay much at the pump. And one consumer pays much at the pump, there will be cascading impact on goods and services transportation, and that will impact inflation, of course.
Dr. Yusuf Suleiman, we're grateful for your submission. And of course, it's a petroleum specialist helping us appreciate development on the global scale. In terms of crude oil prices, the World Bank projected $100 per barrel by the end of this year. And he's been explaining to us what this means when it comes to access to fuel at our various pumps. But away from that, government has indicated its readiness to organize and support trade fairs across the country to promote local businesses, expand and create jobs. The management of Ghana Exim Bank has relaunched its popular Tuesday Market, an initiative to create awareness for made-in-Ghana products and harness their potential for export. Now, this is a prelude to the Ghana Fair, which is going to be organized later this year, which will promote businesses in all sectors of the economy. Nanama Dokua Siama Ej is the Deputy Minister for Trade and Industry and tells Joy Business organizing trade fairs will help expand about 90% of small businesses into giant firms. Take a listen to her.
With regards to fairs, there are plans for fairs all through the year, starting with the Ghana Fair, which is to be the date is to be announced soon, but that will be here in Accra, and that is going to be a much bigger fair, which will include every sector in terms of what we have been able to do, and it will also include prospects in the various regions, the investment prospects in the various regions. In the past, we've done fairs in other parts of the country. We've done fairs in Koforidian, we've done fairs in Kumasi and other parts of the country. And knowing how seriously the ordinary Ghanaian takes manufacturing and industrialization, it is very important for us to be able to showcase what we have been able to do. And we are going to encourage the organization of fairs across the country. Going round, it is obvious that a lot of the products are not necessarily made here in Accra, but they are able to leverage on the opportunities associated with this Tuesday market and travel all the way from wherever they came from with their products to come and showcase, to come and exhibit, and to come and sell. So I believe that irrespective of where we are able to organize the next fair, once they see the opportunities around it, they'll be able to participate.
Now, the Deputy Chief Executive in charge of banking and business at Ghana Export-Import Bank, Rosemary Barrow Archer, for her part, said her outfit is using the Tuesday market to promote local businesses. She says Exim Bank is committed to the government SME development agenda.
Committed to the government's SME development agenda. Indeed, the board of Ghana Exim Bank, together with executive management, have approved a certain amount of money that goes into financing this fair. It might also interest you to note that it's free. We don't charge them anything. So it's by invitation. We wish we could have about 200 businesses here today, but we couldn't. We have about 60 businesses represented here today. So indeed, we are committed to this cause, and it could even get better.
Now, I want to look at plans to partner with financial institutions to help these SMEs when it comes to capital. Are there any plans of that sort?
You're saying, are there any plans?
Yes.
There exists a plan. There's a strategy. Okay. We do partner with most of the banks. We have a risk guarantees department that provide guarantees to those SMEs who receive financing from other commercial banks. So yes, we have collaborations on various forms.
You're still watching The Marketplace. We're going for a short break. We're right back. Just stay with us. Now, an economist at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology is admonishing the government to extensively harness its existing tax sources rather than introducing new taxes. Professor Eric Otain Abeye observes the already imposed taxes have not generated the needed revenue because successive governments failed to effectively enact these tax policies. He believes the instability in tax implementation over the years has the cost will come at a cost to the country, especially when we're losing so much revenue. Take a listen to him.
The government's passage of the Electronic Transaction Bill into law has received backlashes from the citizenry, including academia. Speaking at a public forum on e-levy at KNUST, Professor Eric Otin Abeye indicated the issues encircling the implementation of the levy would affect its revenue mobilization. According to him, the electronic transaction levy is problematic since it lacks neutrality.
Because of the delays in everything and the technicalities, the revenue assurance issues, it is believed that the revenue may not be actually achieved. That's the target. I talked about stability because if we are able to develop the permanent sources of taxes, such as the income tax, property tax in particular, which has not really been focused on, and actually target the right basis that has to pay these taxes, we believe that we can yield enough revenue for development in Ghana.
The public forum organized by the Faculty of Social Sciences at the KNUST was on the theme E-Levy and its implication, a multidisciplinary perspective. Meanwhile, Dr. imploring the government to be transparent in the collection of the E-Levy when implemented. He alluded to past incidents where Ghanaians are not privy to how much revenue is mobilized annually from taxes.
We can leverage the advantage of IT to make our implementation very transparent, our reporting very transparent. For example, now, it's easy with technology. We can always get reporting on monthly basis on how much has been collected from various stakeholders, maybe the telcos or the banking sector, and then make it known to the public. Once people see visibly what is going on, how the e-levy is being implemented, how the funds are being administrated, it will boost the people's confidence.
However, Dr. Yusuf does not consent to the government's decision to outsource monitoring and assurance of the collection of the levy to a third party. He believes such capacities could be built internally. For JoyNews, Emmanuel Bright Kwiku reporting.
Now, one of the beneficiaries of the Joy FM and Aduma FM 2021 Mother's Day celebration and contest, How Mama Had Made Me, Sabina Kwanzaa, has received her life insurance policy documentation by courtesy of Allianz Ghana. We have more in this report by Tasha Michelle.
In 2021, Allianz Ghana sponsored the Joy and Adoma FM's Mother's Day celebration and promised to ensure 10 mothers of participants of the How Mama Had Me on the company's life policy.
A bit about what we are doing for Mother's Day. We love mothers. We appreciate all their care. So for the mothers whose children have put in their entries on How Mama Had Me, we're giving free life cover to 10 mothers. Wow. And we're giving each mother a life cover of 40,000 Ghana cedis. Wow. So this covers total permanent disability. So throughout the next 1 year, all these children whose stories stories would have free life cover from Allianz Life, and it's to the tune of 40,000 Ghana cedis. It will protect these mothers against total permanent disability. We also have a death cover. Okay. So this is 24/7, 365 plus years in the days in a year covering.
Today, Allianz Ghana Limited has fulfilled that promise and presented a dummy check of 40,000 Ghana cedis to a beneficiary, Sabina Arthur, who has lost her mum. Jane Kitome is the Chief Retail and Marketing Officer of Allianz Life Insurance.
On a very somber note, because Allianz Life, a multinational company found in over 80 countries across the world, partnered Multimedia last year in May to be a sponsor of the Mother's Day program. And as a result, we promised to pay benefits to cover 10 mothers. And these are mothers whose children participated in the essay competition. And as a result of that partnership, we covered one woman and her daughter, Sabina, because her mother, who was one of the benefits of 40,000 cedis as death benefit to Sabina Arthur, whose mother was one of the women we covered in May last year for Mother's Day.
The beneficiary, Sabina Arthur, expressed gratitude to Allianz Ghana Limited for fulfilling their promise of financial relief in time of mourning.
I am a daughter of Margaret Kwanzaa, a mother. She was part of last year Adom TV Mother's Day, and Allianz Insurance promised us that no one pray for that, but since that is part of us, if in case a mother die, they have an amount of 40,000 that they will give it to the beneficiary. So this morning we are here, and then they are also here for them to fulfill their promise. So I'm very excited and at the same time sad too, because it's not easy to lose a mother.
Tasha Michelle's report for JoyNews.
Well, quickly, let's turn our attention to tech business, because we're going to be discussing how small startups can benefit from effective communication to attract the needed investment as well as clients. Henry Kobler is our regular guest, and he joins us for more. Henry, you've been dealing with startups time in and time out, and of course, I believe this remains one of the key challenges that most of them face. How can they surmount this challenge? Kindly unmute so we could hear you better.
Thank you very much, Charles. So whenever it comes down to startup, I think that one of the most important things that they need to understand is that you need to sort of have a very effective communication channel, wherein whenever there are issues with your companies, whenever there are complaints, whenever there are any reputational damage that comes in, you have a very credible point where you can push in the communication. The very first part where I could just talk is a website. I mean, most people neglect the point where they could definitely have a proper website that is easy to communicate to their customers and the people that are sort of their audiences. Building a website can be very tedious in terms of their original content where you might put there, but it's also very effective whenever there are any issues or reputational damages that are done to your companies. I'm sure that a lot of people would want to jump on your website to sort of have a press release or a preview as to what exactly the company's positions would definitely be. Social media pages are usually very good points where you could be making a lot of your communications, but I think that one of the most effective ones could actually be Twitter, where it's more credible, especially when you have to put up information, because it's quite easy when businesses have to set up those pages. I think that one of the most important things is that if it's a startup, you could also just have an affiliation to a PR company. That could definitely be good in times of crisis management or reputational damages, where they could have proper communication channeled out to people. There are times where you would have ex-employees go out of their way to have their grievances on social media, and you would have a human court originally in their favor whenever the company has not said anything. But it's very important that you always respond to almost every allegations or reputational damages that comes from employers or customers through the original channels which you basically will set up, or original structures which you can basically set up to make sure that you're addressing the issues. Because whenever you don't do that, you get to lose customers and audience, and you get to lose a lot in terms of the stakeholders of the business.
Of course, especially when perception is everything when it comes to the ecosystem of startups. Henry, we're grateful that you could join us. Let's do the same on Friday. That's how we end the marketplace. I'm Charles Aite. For more news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. Many thanks for watching. You can see the stories on myjoyonline.com. World Bank forecasts crude oil to average $100 per barrel in 2022, of which we discussed extensively on the bulletin. Other stories as well on My Joy Online. You can catch up on that. Many thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of our programs.